Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Hushlife vlog. Look who we got here in the shop today.
Oh, hey there.
Dirk, if you know him on Instagram and social media platforms, the Bugler. There's a good reason why he's called the Bugler. We just went through a crash course on how to use diaphragm calls. So if you guys haven't seen on our store, we actually added these two calls to the lineup. They're produced by Phelps. Are you like a sales?
I'm the sales and marketing guy for Phelps Game Calls. And I kind of wear a lot of other hats too, whether it's, you know, lead on production on some different new innovative calls, or customer service, or film production, or I mean, I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you should just be out on hunts getting content. I'm sure you get to do a little bit of that too. So,
oh, yeah.
Matt's here, Bmack's here. The video we just shot is super informational on how to get started with these calls. So now we're just gonna take a minute and add this to the vlog, and I'm gonna have Dirk help all of us. So we're gonna go through some like basic steps on how to do locator bugle, challenge bugle, full bugle, etc. I haven't used these very much. I haven't really blown on them since September. So this should be pretty interesting and full of tips and information for you guys. I've grown up using diaphragm calls, so I'm really comfortable with them. I would just say, like, I don't know exactly like what calls to use in every single situation. He's done a great job on the video that we have coming soon for our channel on like all the different styles of calls. But most of the hunts I've been on have just been like spot and stock style hunts. Maybe it was too early. Maybe like I've noticed like where I was at the time, the calling just wasn't very effective. So I've always relied on my spot and stock capabilities to get it done. You and Casey have been in some awesome opportunities, calling and stuff, and hunting with Born and Raised over the years.
We definitely learned a few things just from the Born and Raised crew, and a lot of the Land of the Free was, you know, I think she called in almost all the bulls that we killed with the Born and Raised crew. Actually, we did call in all of them. So it's been great. We're still, I would consider, in the novice category from a calling standpoint, and a lot of it is just lack of practice, I would say. I think it's like anything in life, you know, like season comes around, you're like, I should probably start shooting my rifle or start shooting my bow. But, you know, and every year, like, gosh, I need to do that more consistently throughout the year. And then lo and behold, it doesn't seem to happen. So anyways, yeah, it's been awesome to spend some time with Dirk, and can't wait to share the video that we just shot. It's really quite in depth, kind of walking you through from like a cow-calf call all the way through some of the most complex call sequences that you could ever imagine. And if you are not familiar with Dirk, go check out his Instagram page. We'll link it here below. But he's a multi-time calling champion, and certainly just an exceptional elk hunter. We're gonna just kind of like mess around for a few minutes with some guidance by one of the masters. I guess the biggest tip I can give everybody, and I have to remind myself, be comfortable sounding terrible. Just, you gotta embrace not sounding great as you're kind of learning and working through these different tones and sounds. And, you know, sometimes I think our self-conscious gets in the way, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just sound ridiculous, particularly if you're in a group of people, or you're trying to share something on YouTube for the first time when you haven't called very often.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's a lot of folks will be like, okay, they'll get out there and they'll okay, I don't know if this is going to work or not, and they'll bugle, oh, that sounded terrible, and they don't get a response immediately. And they're like, I knew I sucked. I knew I wasn't good at this. I'll just put the calls away. You have to let them work. You have to let the calls work a little bit. And then as you blow up more throughout the season, of course you're going to get better. And eventually you will get a response. And so if you give up on it too quick, you won't know what you were doing wrong or what you were doing right. So even if you don't think you sound super great, you don't have to sound like some kind of a champion or anything. You need to try to sound like an elk. And elk sound pretty stinking weird sometimes. They sound so weird. I was telling these guys earlier, my brother, when him and I first started, he sounded horrible. He sounded like somebody stomped on a rabbit and then kicked a chihuahua. But man, it would just make bulls mad. They would come over, they just wanted to shut that dummy up over there. So have faith. I mean, of course you want to bugle and sound as authentic as you can. Elk used a lot of emotion in their calls. But don't give it up. Let your calls work.
I think that's a super good point. Don't worry. I would say don't worry as much about like the specific tones and mimicking an elk out of the gate. Like, focus on the fundamentals. Like Dirk's going to walk you through in that video later. You'll see on our channel. And then emotion and volume go a long ways to make up for maybe your lack of perfection on tones.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the reality. And again, if you have a friend or you know of somebody mimic what those guys are doing, that's going to help. I think you improve dramatically when you're around people that are better than you, just by listening. When our next video comes out, save it, and I'll go through old videos where somebody has a cool segment or sequence and just replay it over and over, and then try to mimic that exact sound. I think that goes a long ways too, and just trying to get better. You know, that's the reality. We're all just trying to improve little by little every season.
Let's do that.
Let's see it.
If you want to start with like a locator bugle, and then I'll
Okay.
try to mimic it, and then you kind of maybe critique like what you thought I could do better.
Okay. Here's just a basic locator bugle. Just that long high note, and then just drop her off at the end. Not bad for not practicing for a while.
Forever.
Yeah, try to inflect a little more voice at the end, like really go all in with that kind of like a punch to the gut sound. Yeah, that was better. Yeah.
Is that too much grrr at the beginning? Like you
No,
start-
that was good. That was good. No, yeah, if you're at the beginning inflecting your voice, if it sounds like a grizzly bear, you don't want it to sound too gravelly. Just enough there to kind of add a little bit of wheeze.
It was still very high pitched at the end, like phew.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's okay.
How do you get to good?
That's just dropping off, completely dropping your jaw, dropping your tongue off that call, and interjecting your voice. Just, almost like you're beatboxing.
Still not there. Like this is like deeper. Like,
Yeah, and it's almost like a timing thing too. You blend that one. You blended your voice inflection a little bit with the reed noise. So there's like a little clean break, like immediately where one house ends and the other one begins, and it's a weird timing thing, but it just takes practice. You'll get it.
hit us with that locator, Bmack. There you go.
Brand new out of the gate. Didn't sound that great. Do you ever notice when it makes a sound you're not in love with, you like look at your equipment? Kind of like when you make like a bad shot on an archery target, you like look at your bow, like what's wrong with this thing?
I thought that sounded good.
Yeah, it's not bad. One thing.
I'm not getting like the pitch out of it right away that I'm looking for.
I feel like you're getting a lot of air bypass. It's
Yeah.
very airy
Yeah.
sounding.
Exactly.
And that could be, you could have a little bit narrow palate.
I do.
And you're getting air escaping. You're not getting a good seal.
Yep.
So there's a couple different things you can do. You can take your diaphragm, and here on this radius, pretend you're going to notch a tag at like 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. You'd make a little pizza cut or a tag notch cut here,
Okay.
and one right here. And it lets that tape fold a little better and
Yeah.
kind of overlap. And a lot of times that'll clear up that airy sound, and the high note will get louder then. All that air will go across the diaphragm or across the latex instead of around it.
I've noticed because I do have a narrower palate. In years past, I've used like those minis, which I know you guys now have, and or it's just taken a while to actually get a call broken in to kind of like seat better.
Yeah.
So you don't have as much air passing through it.
True. About that. a
Have
little
you
bit.
found, like you said in the video, you kind of mimic them or a lot, like let them set the tone and you kind of climb with their climb.
Yeah.
And so if you locate and you get a response, kind of what's your next step after that?
Yeah, I want to kind of try to listen to the temperature of the bull, and then that's going to determine on how I call to the bull. But once I get them located, then I want to get close. I don't want to try to call that thing in from half a mile away across a big canyon or something. I want to get close. I want to get the wind right, make sure I have a good approach. I want to make it easy for that bull to come to me. I want to get on his level. I want to get close to him. Close is 100 yards away from him. So that's why I love OnX. So I'll look across this big old canyon. I hear a bull. I'm like, okay, there's a rock outcropping and a little glade over there. And I look at the satellite imagery and I put a little X right there. Boom. Okay, now I know. Now I can disappear and hike a half a mile, whatever it takes to get over by where I heard that bull. And as I'm getting really, really close, I'm looking at my map. Okay, I'm danger close. I don't want to bump him. Now I'm going to stop, make sure I got shooting lanes, make sure the wind's right, make sure everything's good. Now I'm going to start calling.
And from there, you're not locator bugle. You're going to start into the next.
So from there, I'll do like a couple really quiet cow calls. And the reason why is maybe he's just right there and I don't even know it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you walk in the room and you say, "Hey honey, what's for dinner?" And she
Startled.
She's startled and like, "What the heck? You scared me."
Yeah.
You know, if you just walk up to an elk and blast them with a call real loud, sometimes they'll get answer back. Sometimes it'll scare the crap out of them. They'll run off a little ways and they'll, what the heck's going on here? So I like to introduce myself real quietly, just a couple quiet cow calls. I listen then very intently for maybe some thumping around or a vocal reaction. And then if I don't hear anything, I'll make a couple more louder cow calls. So I'll go from just a couple really quiet ones. And then if I don't hear anything, I'll kind of open it up a little bit, put a little bit louder out there. If I don't hear anything at that point, then I'll bugle. I'll probably do a full bugle. Like a searching bugle. It's not like a locator bugle. It's not super aggressive. It's almost like a demanding bugle, like some respect here. It's like, "Hey, I heard a bull bugle over here. Where are you at?" And then I kind of let it sit for a second. And sometimes they'll answer right away. Sometimes not. Sometimes I'll have to pick up a big stick and beat the snot out of a tree for a bit.
Yeah. Do you find that sometimes like raking a tree like that gets a better reaction than even calling when you're kind of in the zone?
I do think raking a tree is really effective when done at the right time. A lot of times I don't use it until that bullet has made a bunch of noise and come in. And if he's came in and then like hung up. Yeah. A lot of times when they hang up, then I'll just beat the crap out of a tree, make a whole bunch of noise.
I've heard you say in the past too that you like to pick a stick with maybe a certain diameter as you know, don't grab like a little twig, but try to find something a little heftier.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of hard to find a good raking stick, but
yeah.
If it's, pretty good size, big around and, about this long, then that's good. You can really make some noise with it. But if you pick up a little twig and sometimes that's all you got,
Yeah.
you're scraping a tree with it, it doesn't make much noise, doesn't travel. But if you can really you really want that noise to travel.
In your experience, big fan of making noise in the field all times?
Most of the time.
Where would the exception be when you would maybe change tactics and say, okay, I gotta go stealth now?
Okay, so earlier we said we located that bull, we want to get close. So most of the way over there, I'm not going to care about noise. I'm just going to get there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to purposely make noise, but I'm going to walk there quickly. I want to get there as quick as I can. As I start approaching that 100-yard mark, as I'm getting to 200 yards, 100 yards, I start slowing down and become a lot more deliberate. I'm watching ahead thinking, okay, my quietest route that I'm going to take towards where that bull's at. Reason why, I don't want to have him hear me coming. Sometimes those things will hear you coming and they will think you're an elk and they'll bugle at you, or they'll hear you and they'll kind of circle around and smell you or whatever. I don't want him to know that I'm coming. I just want to get up there, get close, and then, haha, I'm here.
Yeah, start to tease with the calls.
Yeah. So, and then during that time, finding that spot to set up, I'm very quiet. I'm making sure I'm not standing on pine cones or twigs or anything. I'll take the time, I'll clear some twigs and pine cones out from my feet and before I make that first little call. Because you never know, he may just come right up to you. It happens. Sometimes you may be a quarter mile off. Maybe that bull's moved since you've first heard him. But
I feel like a lot of folks make the biggest mistake setting up. Do you have any kind of go-to everyday fundamental tips? Like every time I set up, I make sure I check these 2 or 3 boxes.
Absolutely. We hear talk to a lot of guys that just say, dang it, I get bulls answering and coming in every year, but it's just that when they come in, they always hang up, and I never can get them out of the hang up, and then they lose interest and leave. And I think the reason why is biggest problem. I think people will set up with a lot of shooting lanes. They'll shoot up, they'll set up, and be like, oh man, I had shooting like this here and here and here. I can shoot everywhere. The problem with good shooting lanes is that bull can usually see you from a distance. You want that bull to have to come super close to ever see you. Super close, 30 yards and less, right? You don't want him standing at 50, because between you and him and 50, there could be a lot of trees or terrain or whatever that he can hide behind. You want him to come to that 30-yard mark to where now he's pretty close, and if he kind of tries a circle or whatever, you're probably going to get a shot. So you want his visibility to be very close. And the best way to do it is as you're looking for setup spots, picture yourself as an elk. Where could I see an elk? You know, how far away could an elk be before I could spot him? Oh, he'd have to be pretty close. I've got 2 marginal shooting lanes. I'm going to set up right here. Sometimes I'll set up and I've got a 5-yard shot, maybe if I'm really lucky, just because that's the kind of country it is, it's thick or whatever. But a lot of times those bulls and that really thick stuff, they feel comfortable coming close because they have to if they want to ever see it.
Man, we've been in so many situations where I've been like, I wonder what Dirk would do right here, because this ain't working for me. Yeah. So like, is it just that calling doesn't work right in this situation, or could someone like you be like, no, this is perfect, like I can get that bull in, you can't, but I can.
Yeah.
And I, like, whether it's wide open country, like very visible, we've seemed to have that issue in Idaho where it's like they seem very visual, wide open country, and if they're not seeing anything, sounds, nothing gets them any closer.
Right.
Do you think like you could get them in closer in those situations?
I feel like you have to play a card game at that point. So it's or a chess game. So I kind of watched some of the, Trevor and you guys in Land of the Free 1.0 when you're hunting that open stuff. And I kind of watched some situations and thought, oh man, if I was there, I would do this or do that. A lot of times that open stuff, that bull would stand up on a ridge and watch you way down trying to see those elk. Before you get too involved in your calls with that bull, I would try to watch where he's going and maybe wait till he gets to his bedding area where it's maybe a little thicker. Or let's say they're moving, now they're starting to slow down and they just went over the top of this little ridge. If you can beat feet over there, if you're close enough, beat feet, hurry up, and put your shooter at the hang up spot and leave your other guy back, 50 to 100 yards and start doing his thing where that bull's gonna come to that ridge top and look. Well, your guy's already planted there and you can let him have it. But that sounds good on paper, but they don't always work. But it's something to think about.
The visual hang-up, though, I think is so absolutely spot on. I mean, it could be as easy as like you're just in a little gully in between you and another ridge.
Yeah.
And it's 75 yards. The bull will come to that spot, but they can see all the way down the gully and all the way onto the other side of the ridge. So if they don't see an elk, chances are they're not going to commit and come over. Because like you were talking in the other video we did, that visual component to elk is such a key thing. So, to your point, meeting them almost at that point of, okay, if they get to this spot, they can see all of this. I need to have a shooter right at that spot.
Right.
That way, if they pause and are observing, we can potentially get a shot at that bull.
Right.
Especially in open country, more so than anything.
Right. And if you're hunting solo, like you do a lot, it's a game of trickery, right? So you're like, okay, they're just over that lip. Right before you get to your lip, okay, it's going to take that bull this much time to get to the hang-up spot. Well, over here, before I'm at the hang-up spot, 50 yards or whatever, I'm going to bugle back towards where I want him to think I am. I'm going to cover my tube a little bit. You can kind of muffle it. You sound like you're 100 yards away. And then you hurry, quick, quietly up to that hang-up spot and wait. And a lot of times that'll be, at that point, you've maybe called a little bit and you can tell he's getting pretty interested like he's going to come. Well, that's when you throw your bugle on the opposite way, sneak up to the hang-up spot and wait.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, identifying the hang-up spot. As you're going through the hunt, maybe you don't even have a bull going at the time, but you're just making your way through the woods. Think about woodsmanship and stuff, and you're trying to identify hang-up spots. Be like, oh man, if I had a bull going up there, that little ridge, or they love to pop up on an open ridge. They like to show themselves because they want to look like King Ding-a-ling, but also they want to see you. So if you're identifying those places throughout the hunt, then you get comfortable knowing where bulls are going to hang up, and then you won't make the mistake of setting up too far away from that hang up spot.
For sure. Great stuff, man.
Yeah.
What do you got planned this fall, Dirk? You got any good hunts?
Oh man, I got well, Idaho, of course,
Yeah.
and then New Mexico, got a tag down there, and then Montana.
Beautiful.
So starting in Idaho, then New Mexico, and then late September, 1st of October hit Montana, and then I got a mule deer tag in Montana, just regular
Yeah.
combo license, and then Idaho mule deer tag too. So
Fun.
so it should be fun.
Yeah, pack season.
So as we're hanging out tonight, Dirk's got a couple new products that you guys might be interested in. We covered a little bit more in depth on, again, the other video that should be out later this week. So we'll just have him do a quick little overview on the vlog. He'll walk you through the capabilities of these bad boys on the full length video. But Dirk, what are the new products that Phelps has got launching here on the 22nd of July? Coming up.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. We've been sitting on these for a little while trying to get them to market. Number one, production problems, but also a lot of the engineering behind them. We want to make sure they're perfect and ready to go, and that way everyone will have a really good experience with it. But I feel like some of these calls overshadow the other, but you know, this new metal bugle tube has been kind of the one that overshadowing all of them. And I think because we're so proud of this new external mouthpiece on here for folks who can't use a diaphragm. Super versatile, super easy to use, and just loud as all get out. You know, with this metal tube, you can bugle, chuckle. You can even pop this thing off and cow call with it a little bit. It doesn't sound the greatest, but I mean, as far as a cow call, but all the other calls are really solid.
I'm teasing,
oh,
dude.
okay.
You gotta watch the full video
You
to
gotta
see the capabilities, man. What about the little cow call you got there?
Oh, and I'll talk about this one too.
Yeah.
So that metal bugle tube, we also got this one with a flared mouthpiece for the diaphragm users. So it's pretty cool. And then we got this new calf call. It's called the Young'un. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of hubbub in the elk hunting world about calf calls. Some people say, you know what, the calf is the only member of the elk herd that's not non-threatening. You know, you get mature cows that are competing for breeding rights with that bull. They may not want another mature cow coming into the herd and disrupting things, right? There's that dynamic. And then also, you know, they say bulls are kind of pedophiles and they like calves too. It's kind of gross, kind of sick, but I think they think they maybe have an easier chance to hem up a young calf and breed them. So bulls are very interested in calf calls. So I think whatever the reasoning behind it, I think a lot of folks can agree in the hunting world that a calf call is very invaluable. And this call is really soft, really quiet, and it's not made to, you know, blast calls across a big canyon. This is kind of a closer type call. You want to make it a little louder, you can put your finger over the reed here. And you can get some cow calls out of it too if you really want. A little more mature type call,
Yeah.
but the most focus is those little sharp, quiet calf calls. Very subtle.
Just another thing to the repertoire, you know?
Why do you think, like, you know, you do like the 1, 2, 3, or like you just did, like mew, 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 mew versus just mew, mew? Like, are they saying something different, or is there like a time where a guy should like be doing more or faster or slower?
I watch a lot of YouTube videos on calf behavior because I never see a lot of that in the wild myself.
Yeah.
So I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and one calf will make a lot of weird little different noises, and it's almost like they're trying to find their elk, you know, the rest of the elk, the rest of the herd. So it's just kind of adding some depth to it. Or it could be confused as maybe there's 2 or 3 calves there, you know, make different little pitches, and they're real close together and they're searching for their mommies or whatever. Yeah, so I think that's what kind of trying to mix it up, and but you could just but I think variety is the spice of life, even for elk calling, you know. They make some really weird short noises, and it's kind of weird, but
I mean, you guys have the smaller diaphragm.
yeah,
too,
this
right?
one's going to be really popular for those folks who just can't use diaphragms, or they've been cutting their tape on their diaphragms for years. So we got these new little mini amps. Check these out. They're 20% smaller than a normal amp call. So that includes the frame. The frame's 20% smaller, and the tape is, and it's a little different tape cut. It's shaped for more of a narrow type pallet.
As you guys heard earlier, like the amount of air passing through this call, and until I can kind of get it broken in and shaped to my smaller palate, those ones were always a favorite of mine years ago when I was first learning, was just the smaller ones. So I might have to try those bad boys out.
It always takes me a minute to do cow calls.
Yeah. What's the tip you have on cow calls, Dirk?
Just trying to find that
Drop
that pressure point.
Yeah. And
To
I
get
think
the sound.
Yeah, and you want to start with that real high pitched mosquito noise, but then you want to loosen your tongue and then kind of drop your jaw a little bit. And with that being a brand new call out of the bag, it's probably a little bit chirpy, but as you mess with it and bugle with it quite a bit, it'll settle in and bugle nice.
Do you like to break brand new calls in by just ripping a bunch of bugles on them and trying to like get them?
I do a lot, and it kind of depends on some of the calls. Some of our calls, like our gray amp, right out of the package, it's ready to go. It's just right where it needs to be. But like the Maverick, the one my call of choice, or like your guys' new calls, they're stretched a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing because it
For sure.
it lets them last a lot longer.
Yeah.
And once you kind of get it broke in, after 20 to 30 bugles, that thing will just make some beautiful soft cow calls.
Well guys, we got a lot more on how to call using the diaphragm calls on a video coming soon, so make sure you subscribe. Don't forget, all our Hush Signature Series Phelps game calls are on the website.
Yeah.
These have just been added. We've also got the bugle tube and here's our other cow call.
The Easy Estrus.
Easy Estrus.
Somewhere
It's
around
been
here.
on the website before, but yeah, check that out. But yeah, we're gonna probably sit here and practice some of this stuff, and then
There it is.
there it is.
Take us home, Dirk, with some Easy Estrus.
Let's see if I remember how to do this.
It's so annoying. All the calls.
I know, right?
Hope you guys learned something, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
that was fun. There's
Thanks,
a lot
Dirk.
to learn. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.